Executive session. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
At that.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Calling this meeting to order. It's Monday, June 4th. It's 7:33. Patty, would you call the roll, please? Clerk Spencer. Clerk.
Conquest, absent. Kennedy. Here. Mulliner.
Here.
Brennan.
Here.
Sabatino.
Here.
Deuter.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Leader.
Here.
Polumsky. Here. Graham.
Here.
Paludo.
Here.
York.
Here.
Levin. Here. Park, absent. 12 present, 2 absent.
12 present, 2 absent. We have a quorum. The first thing that we have on the agenda this evening are the Ruth Strand Poster Contest winners. And I'd like to invite Dave Obert over here to the microphone, and I'll join you down there.
Podium, Dave.
Well, good evening. I'm Dave Oberg. It is my privilege to serve as the Executive Director of the Elmhurst History Museum, and it's a special privilege to be here tonight as we celebrate the winners of the Ruth Strand Poster Contest. We're going to invite Ellen Braun and members of the, all of the members who participated in the contest in just a minute, but I got to tell you, as my first year here as Director, what a treat it is to see our young historians, our budding historians, celebrating our local history, telling some of our local stories. It's the neatest thing I've ever seen. And we had a good time in the parade too, didn't we? How many of you were in the parade with us? There we go. So it's a very, very special thing. But I'm going to turn the podium over to Ellen, and then we're going to turn the floor over to our contestants here, because this is really all about them.
I'm Ellen Braun. I'm here to represent the Elmhurst Heritage Foundation Board of Directors. As many of you know, this is an annual contest that we hold to honor the memory of Ruth Strand, who was a longtime librarian at Elmhurst Public Library and one of the founders of the Elmhurst Historical Museum. You may not know this, but at one time the Historical Museum was housed in the Wilder Mansion along with the library when it was there, but now we have our own space, which was very fun. Our contest this year attracted 350 entries of students in 10 schools. They're students who study local history as a unit, and the opportunity that they have to make a poster as part of their study. We also award $100 library grants to those schools that have 10 or more participants. And this year there were 9 schools in Elmhurst that were awarded those $100 grants. I would like to call up the young people today who are here. Not all of them are present, but those who are here. As I call your name, would you please come up? And Mr. Oberg is going to display the posters. Yes, here are our honorable mention winners. So those of you, please come up as I call your name, and you can stand right here with Mr. Mulliner and Mr. Oberg. Aviana Heckenbach from Conrad Fisher. Claire O'Shaughnessy from Visitation. Hannah George from Lincoln School. I know some of you are here. John Devens from Emerson. Julia Sizek from Jackson School. Katie Knobel from Immaculate Conception Grade School. Olivia Avil from Edison. Renata Torres from Field School. Samantha Torres, Olivia Avil from Edison, Renata Torres from Field, Samantha Drolet from Jefferson, and Sophie Hummel from Hawthorne. These are our honorable mention winners. Our third place winners, we had a tie for third place this year. So Lucy Beal from Hawthorne School and Gavin Stotts from Field School. Their creations are displayed for you electronically, if either of them are here. And then our first and second place winners, wait for it. Second place, Gabby Cantrell from Immaculate Conception and Daniela Muley from Hawthorne School. I'd like to thank all of the city officials. Several of you were able to vote in the contest, along with some city staff members and educators from the community. We very much appreciate that. I'd also like to acknowledge the members of the board of the Elmhurst Heritage Foundation who are here tonight. So would all of you please stand so we can thank you as well.
Shaking hands? Uh-oh. Are we shaking?
Oh, yeah.
Stretch.
Should have somebody.
Congratulations.
Coming out tonight.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Girls are good artists.
Good job. Catcher. Great catcher.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Thanks for coming. Good job. Good job.
Congratulations. Like that.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Hard work, both of you.
Every one of them. Shake, good shake. Watch your step.
Like that.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, does anyone have any written communication that they'd like to present to the clerk? If you'd bring it up and present it to the clerk. The clerk will copy that and distribute it to all of the members of the city council.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, next on the agenda is public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for people in the audience to have 3 minutes to present any issue that they have that they'd like to talk about. We give you 3 minutes. At about 2 minutes and 55 seconds, I'll give you a heads up. We need you to start off by giving your name. You do not need to give your address, but we do need your name. City Clerk, do we have anyone?
We do, and I'll start with Daniel Cusack, OS 579 Kirk.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Cusack. My wife Nancy and I have lived at 0 South 579 Kirk since 1987. I'm here to tell you about the effects of the last Elmhurst and hospital development in West Yorkfield and over the last 10 years, and also to point out my issues with your new sub-area plans for West Yorkfield. Almost 10 years ago to the day, many residents of West Yorkfield, myself included, repeatedly expressed to the City Council and other Elmhurst boards and commissions and the hospital itself our concerns regarding the hospital development in our neighborhood. Our 3 major concerns were noise, traffic, and property values. Those 37 of us who still remain in the neighborhood are now experiencing how poorly the city and the hospital address those concerns. Traffic. Well, the hospital originally maintained that Harvard Street would see 18 to 20 box truck deliveries daily and a small number of semi-trucks monthly. We now see easily 50 box trucks daily and 5 or 6 semis on a daily basis. The original estimate of 21 ambulances per day is probably more like 100 per day. And this is on top of the 400 to 500 employees changing shifts 3 times a day using Harvard Street almost exclusively. Noise. In addition to all the noise created by the high volume of traffic, the energy center that was initially described by the hospital as a small, inconsequential building is in reality a huge noise producer. The high-pressure natural gas valve lets off a loud hissing sound 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The backup generators that we were told would only run for a required 2 hours monthly for exercise, or when all 3 Commonwealth Edison trunk lines failed. In reality, they run 2 or 3 times per week for no apparent reason. And if the hospital really wanted to be a good neighbor, not cutting the grass near residents' homes at 7 a.m. would be a good start. Property values. We were all assured that the hospital development would have no negative impact on the property values. Instead, myself personally have seen a 40% decrease in my home's assessed value.
Would you finish it? Please wrap up, please.
Okay? Other neighbors in the neighbor have seen the same thing, or at best, small increases. On average, the 37 homes have seen a 10% decrease in the building's assessed values. Now you have your new plans coming into place, and the people of Yorkfield are much more aware of how this system works, and we are going to expect much more from you as this new process moves forward. Everything that I said and more is included in the handout that I handed in, along with an analysis of the property values in Yorkfield for your review. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Powell?
Good evening, my name is Edgar Powell. So last time I showed up here for a public comment, I talked about 8 cases opened up by the Public Access Bureau, taking a look at alleged violation of the Open Meetings Act. Well, now I'm here because fortunately 4 out of 8 of those cases have been closed. So I'd like to thank all of you on the City Council, staff, the City Attorney for your efforts in attempting to resolve those cases. So I won't go into detail on all 4 of them that have been closed so far, but the common theme out of a couple of them are determined violation. So they actually concluded a violation of Section 2.06B of the Act for not approving minutes of your prior meetings. This has been happening, as you know, for potentially several decades. Based on what I'm seeing online and in the municipal code, this could have happened over a 25 to 40 year period, maybe even more. It's unclear. So hopefully the city clerk or someone in that office is taking a look into how far back this issue goes. The reason I bring that up is the Public Access Bureau has asked all of the committees to approve the minutes of all meetings prior to 2017, since you have already addressed 2017 and 2018. So I'm hoping you're going to do that pretty shortly. Last but not least, I read in one of the letters from the Public Access Bureau that city staff, roughly 20 members of city staff, have already gone through training on the Open Meetings Act so that they can be in better compliance with the requirements of minutes recording and posting of agendas. So I very much appreciate staff and Mr. Serino for going through that process. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Ruth, could you open the door for us? Thank you.
That concludes public forum as far as sign-ins.
Okay, that concludes those who have signed in. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak who didn't get an opportunity to sign in? Thank you. Seeing none, we'll move on. Announcements. Does anyone have any announcements that they would like to make? Any announcements? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone have any item that they'd like to remove from the consent agenda to vote no or to have a discussion about? Alderman Bram?
7.17.
Okay, we'll remove 7.17. Any other item? Seeing none, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Alderman Bremen? Alderman Bram?
Okay.
Roll call?
Brennan Brand.
Right.
Honquist, absent. Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Brennan.
Aye.
Sabatino.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Polumsky.
Aye.
Bram.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Park, absent. 12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent.
12 ayes, 2 nays, 2 absent, and item passes. Consent agenda passes minus item 7.17. City Clerk, have you had an opportunity to pull that one?
Yes, yes.
Could you read the title, please?
Yes, it's an ordinance granting a conditional use permit and to approve and authorize variations for the construction and operation of a cell tower on property commonly known as 910 North Addison Avenue, Elmhurst, Elmhurst, Illinois.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve this. Alderman Toledo. Alderman Kennedy. Discussion. Should I just, Alderman Bram?
Yeah, not much more to say. When I spoke to the report on this request, selling public property for a private entity, where the initial intent of this public property was for the fire tower training. So I don't approve that. I don't approve the dollar amount. I don't approve anything about this.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Honquist, absent. Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Brennan.
Aye.
Sabatino.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Polemski.
Aye.
Graham.
No?
Toledo.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Park, absent. So that is 11 ayes, 1 nays, 2 absent.
11 ayes, 1 nay, 2 absent. That item passes. We'll move on to committee reports. This evening, we have 1 committee report out of the Finance Committee. So I need a motion to put that.
No, I have to read the
Oh, you have to read the
recommendation.
recommendation. That's right. Read the
Okay. It is therefore the recommendation of the Finance, Council Affairs, and Administrative Services Committee that the City Council adopt the debt management policy as proposed and to direct the city attorney to prepare the appropriate documents to adopt the City of Elmhurst debt management policy, signed by Kevin L. York, Chairman, Mark P. Sabatino, Vice Chairman, Tina Park, and Mike Brennan.
I need a motion and a second. Motion by Kevin York, second by Alderman Sabatino. Discussion. Alderman York.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what we have tonight is a report recommending the adoption of a debt management policy. First of all, I'd like to thank city staff, who none of them are here. Tom's taking a day off, but and Lori Hayes. And I'd also like to thank, obviously, our committee, but also Alderman Toledo and Alderman Dunn, who kind of got the process rolling. Obviously, this has taken some time to get this all the way through and make everybody happy with it and what we feel is a well-rounded debt management policy. During the course of the day, I've received a few phone calls asking about, does the 5% debt limit still apply? And the answer is unequivocally yes. That is in the MCO, which this is a policy, and that's the MCO. So the policy is just kind of a clarification, a checklist, of procedures, if you will, about all the things that are considered when we're looking to finance capital projects and what to finance and what not to finance, but obviously it's going to be capital projects. We're not paying for day-to-day expenses. So that's what we have in front of us tonight. The revenue policy, which was attached to the board docs, is where the current policy was, and it says debt will be limited to 5%, which again is in the MCO, and what we will do is we'll have a resolution to adopt this policy for the city council. We've also attached some debt detail that city staff put together in the charts that you see, and were just put together to kind of lay out, where the city is currently. You can see that there's no debt obligations. They don't include debt obligations projected in 2018. But currently, after the first payment of this year, the city has about $104 million of debt. And you can see how it's broken out by general obligation bonds, i.e. EPA loans, and then the general obligation note, which is basically the line of credit. And then the second chart provides funding by debt classification, in other words, capital improvement, library, stormwater, TIFs, the municipal utility funds, which is basically water and sewer, and the parking fund. And then the third chart shows the debt by funding by revenue source. So these are just tools that we have to kind of understand the debt. I think one of the most interesting things about it is that, you know, the debt the city has is $104 million in principal, yet when you project all the future interest payments at what the bonds call for now, it's $130 million. And oftentimes, if we have a mortgage on our house of $250,000, we say we have a $250,000 mortgage, we don't say it's $370,000 because we're adding the interest in for the whole time that we'll hold the loan. So we do have full disclosure into, at this point in time, if everything remains the same, we will pay $130 million to retire this debt unless we hit the lottery and we can just pay it all off in one fell swoop. So that's what these charts lay out. But basically, a lot of hard work has gone into this debt policy to give a lot of thought into how we decide what we're going to finance, how we're going to finance it, how we're going to go about looking for the financing for it, what types of instruments we might use, how we'll communicate with the debt markets about the debt. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Alderman Levin.
Well, I assume we're not buying lottery tickets, so I'll go from there. Alderman York, could you comment on how different this policy is from current practice, or any changes, or is it change, or is it a sort of a formalization of what staff and your committee has done over the past?
That's a great question, and the answer is, this is just kind of developing the words that go around what we do on an everyday basis. So it just formalizes the whole process as far as what we'll finance and how we'll do it and everything. So it just, yeah.
I think it's a very helpful document. I mean, for new aldermen or for those who have been on the council for a number of years, and we talk about how we're doing debt financing, it takes a while to sort of figure out what we're doing, and this document really was helpful because it lays it all out in one narrative of what we're doing and what we should be looking for, which will be a good tool for helping us all know that we're following the right structure. So thank you.
Alderman Tallulah.
Thank you. I would like to thank the Finance Committee for their work on this. I agree with Alderman Levin that it is a great document, and I appreciate all the efforts. And I just want to kind of put a fine line on the exchange between Alderman Levin and Alderman York, in that it's important for us to have policies like this, because while currently this council, and especially this Finance Committee and our Director of Finance and our City Manager, all are moving the city finances forward in a responsible and appropriate manner, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be like that. And so I really appreciate having this debt policy. It's more in-depth than what we had in the past, and I think that it helps to solidify and give guidance to, well, not, you know, it's not written in stone, but it does help to solidify and give guidance to future councils to hopefully keep the healthy financial situation that the city has for many years to come. So thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Braham.
Thank you. And I'll say the same kudos to the committee and staff for putting this together, especially the charts. It's nice to have one spot to look at all of our outstanding debt and the totals of all that debt. With that said, I just had one question on that. The line item for 2018, and this might be for the committee or it might be for staff, for the GO bonds of the 4.4 million plus, does this encompass of the GO bonds we currently have outstanding, or I know there's talk about going out for additional bonds for stormwater management, and also what's marked in the budget as needing for additional GO bonds. So how does this roll up?
Alderman York.
Thank you. So the way the schedule is presented is, if you follow the line across 2018, this is what's yet to be paid on the bonds this year. We've already made one bond payment. We made a payment in March, and I believe it was primarily interest in the March payment. There was some principal, but the majority of the principal will be paid in September. We make 2 payments annually for those. So this, at the end of the year, and this is all in the budget too. So we'll make a $5.2 million principal payment, about a $3 million interest payment, for about $8 million total for 2018. And that's all existing debt. It's not anything that we might add. There is a 2018 GO bond contemplated within the budget.
Right.
And that's not in here because it's not, we haven't gotten it yet. And a lot of times, if we get it in 2018, we don't make a first payment until late into 2019 for that particular issue too. So,
Thank you.
Alderman Dunn?
I too want to thank the committee for reviewing this important approach to how we finance our long-term investments in the city. One thing that's very important, I think that we all recognize, is our bond rating, the S&P AAA rating that we've achieved for several years in a row. There's maybe a catch-22 in that. You need to, in order to get that rating, you can't have too much debt, but you want that rating so you can incur more debt. So do we speak to that in any formalized document, our desire to maintain that rating? I don't know if I noticed it in this document.
It's the, under goals and objectives. And, you know, we talked about this. It used to be number 3 on the list, but it kind of moved up to number 1. But we didn't shape it to a particular agency. So it's take all practical steps necessary to maintain or improve the city's credit rating on existing and or future debt issues. So we didn't want to say S&P or whatever. We just wanted to, because we don't know who the rating agencies are going to be. You know, some of them that were here pre-2008, 2009 aren't around anymore. So you don't want to kind of memorialize in that form. We decided to take a more generic approach and just look at it holistically and say, do the best job we can.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Lundquist, absent. Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Brennan.
Aye.
Sabatino.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Palumski.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Paludo.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Park, absent. 12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent. That report passes. On to reports and recommendations from appointed and elected officials. Is there anyone on the council who has a report that they'd like to present? Alderman Dunn.
Yes, thank you, Alderman Mulliner. I just want to give a brief update on, we had an ONCC meeting last Friday, June 1st. Not overly eventful, but there was some interesting dialogue there. There was a gentleman from Boeing giving some analysis on trying to make aircraft less noisy, and the efforts that have been developing in recent years to bring down the noise footprint of the aircraft themselves, because we generally think of the engines as being the culprits there. So some interesting approaches there. One thing that was mentioned was a potential to accept steeper approaches. Right now, that's really a standard 3% approach guide slope into airports in the U.S. and there's movement afoot to maybe to go a little steeper with that, especially with lighter, more higher performance planes. That with higher technology, that becomes more feasible. And just want to mention that the first Fly Quiet Committee meeting will be on June 19th. That's at 9:30 in the morning at the CDA offices. So apparently, there's going to be monthly meetings, June, July, August. Those first 2 or 3 meetings will be educational in content to really lay groundwork for how the committee's going to be approaching the Fly Quiet program going forward. Another thing that was mentioned was that the consultant was selected for the environmental impact study for the IFQ, the interim Fly Quiet, that will run its course until the year 2020, until the full build-out of the OMP. And that is supposed to take 1 year. So with that being awarded in April, we expect that to be done in next April, which is when the IFQ rotation can then start there after that. So in between now and then, we'll be in the traditional Fly Quiet mode, which is more favorable for Elmhurst. That's my report.
Thank you very much. Alderman Braham?
Thank you. I was also at the ONCC meeting, and thank you, Alderman Dunn, for the summary. The one thing I asked the city, as well as Alderman Dunn as our representative, over 6 months now, myself and other residents have been asking for the construction schedule, the construction alternatives when the 422s, those 2 diagonal runways that impact Elmhurst, what runways will be utilized when both of those runways are under construction. For 6 months, we have received no answers, either via the city or via CDA or ONCC. I don't understand, and I voiced this publicly at one of the previous ONCC meetings when they did the IFQ vote. I don't understand how they can vote on an IFQ without knowing where the planes will be landing in the IFQ, due to those 2 major runways being under construction during the IFQ timeframe. But the vote did move forward. Now, it has been stated in the ONCC newsletter that, as Alderman Dunn has already summarized, that the modeling for the EIS, the Environmental Impact Study, is proceeding. It's proceeding without even knowing where the planes will be flying when these runways are under construction. I'm a novice. I don't understand how you can do modeling when you have no idea where the planes are landing. So what areas are impacted, what environments are impacted. But I strongly request that we please get an answer for these very serious questions on what runways will be utilized when those 422s are under construction. I spoke with Aaron Fram, which I think he's from the CDA, I believe, after the meeting. He did not give me an answer. The runways, one of the 422s will be under construction in 2019. The other will be under construction in 2020. I forecast that when one's under construction, that they will just throw all of that air traffic on the other 422, which will be incredibly detrimental to Elmhurst. I don't understand how they can't have the answer, so I'm just asking our representation, staff-wise as well, if we can get answers to this immediately, and how is this going to impact the modeling that they're already doing without even knowing these answers. Thank you.
Okay, staff will do the best they can to get the answers from that organization.
Thank you.
Any other reports or recommendations? Okay, I have just real quick, one thing that I want to mention. We had the parade last Monday, and it went very well. It was very well attended. The ceremony at the Veterans Memorial was terrific. It went very well. The mayor did a terrific job. So did all the other presenters. Thought it was a wonderful way to celebrate our 100th parade. And thank you for everybody who participated.
Thank you. A couple updates. Over the weekend, the trolley was out and about, and we had 827 riders. So it's kicked off with a big swing on that one. And then just a quick update on the storm that came through town last week. That was another heavy storm. We haven't had one in quite a while, thankfully. And it dropped about 2.5 inches of rain in less than 2 hours, which is about a 25-year storm, I believe, by our modeling. All of our systems worked as expected. All 9 of the recently completed facilities were online and took water as they were designed, some of them for the first time. And that, of course, is in place to reduce neighborhood flooding in some areas. Now, I know we did have some street flooding, but again, that's part of the design of our stormwater system, is for the streets to hold water temporarily while the sewers are full. We did have public works crews in, and I appreciate that. They were out and about clearing debris off of clogged inlets, along with manning the wastewater treatment plant. The wastewater treatment plant diverted, the system on the southwest part of town diverted almost 2 million gallons of water to the new tank to be treated after the flows went down. And of course, that helps keep the sewage out of the pipes, which we all know backs up into some residents' basements. Regarding road closures, Palmer Drive was closed for a little while, along with Route 83 underpass. We are looking into that with IDOT to find out what the problem is with that. Understanding it was a lot of rain, but their system, we want to make sure that their system is functioning the way that it should be. Just as a reminder, the city constructed 82 acre-feet of storage, and that certainly helped in this situation. I believe we have a picture of even the quarry taking some water from that system. And last, I would just add that this is now the wettest May on record. We had a total rainfall of 8.2 inches for the Chicago area, which exceeded the average monthly rainfall of 3.6 inches, so an extra 4.5 inches of rain in May, just to give you an idea of what we were dealing with. So I do want to thank not only Public Works, but police and fire, who were out and about patrolling and reporting, taking calls and reporting on closed streets. 2 other items. Just so the council knows, we continue to work with the Royal York Board on the potential property swap that we have going on. I know we have some items that are on the agenda tonight, but I want everybody to know that we continue that conversation. There's a lot of back and forth between our city attorney, their attorney, and an attorney working for Chicago Title. So that is continuing as fast as it can in a parallel path with these projects that we're looking at tonight. And then my last item is the police roll calls have started up for the summer. So check the police Facebook page for the next dates when our friendly smiling officers will be out meeting the residents. That's my update.
Thank you. And I'm just going to add 2 things to the flooding. One is we appreciate everything that the city did. I was out wandering the streets as well, as I'm sure most of us were, and they did a terrific job. Public Works and police and fire were doing a great job covering the city and helping us out. I do ask that the residents please understand that if the inlets are clogged, the water can't go down. So if you know that there's a storm coming, if you could clean in front of your house, that would be extremely helpful, because we don't have enough staff to clean every inlet in the city of Elmhurst, because I believe there's some 15,000, something like that. It's somewhere in that range of inlets in the city of Elmhurst, and we don't have that many staff members. So if you could help us out, that would be terrific, and it's better if you do it before the rain hits rather than after the rain hits. And lastly, first roll call was in the 7th Ward last week, and it was terrific. It was something that I think if residents have a chance to get out and see, they should take that opportunity to get out there and meet the police officers and get a chance to understand what they're doing on the streets. Okay, that concludes the reports and recommendations. On to ordinances. City Clerk, could we read the title?
An ordinance rejecting all bids for Southwest Elmhurst Stormwater Mitigation Project Phase 1 and awarding the project to Swallow Construction Corporation.
I need a motion. Alderman Kennedy, Alderman Deuter, seconds. Alderman Kennedy, any comments?
Mayor Pro Tem Mulliner. Obviously, in the report that was on the consent agenda, we had in there to suspend the rules because we wanted to have the report and the ordinance so that we could get moving on this project. This is somewhat atypical in the fact that we rejected all the bids and selected someone other than the low bidder. But that is something that is allowed by not only our municipal code, but the laws that are out there. And so we just want to move forward with the recommendation for Swallow Construction to work on this project that will provide at least 18 acre feet. Obviously, the Royal York part adds some to that. And we obviously want to get moving on that and help, well over 100 homeowners in that area that have waited a long time, and we want to get them online as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Conquest, absent. Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Brennan.
Aye.
Sabatino.
Aye.
Goiter.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Palumski.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Park, absent. 12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent. That ordinance passes. On to resolutions. Could you read the title on this one, please?
A resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement by and between Earthworks Land Improvements and Development Corporation and the City of Elmhurst, authorizing the issuance of a notice of award for the Southwest Elmhurst Stormwater Mitigation Project, Phase 2.
I need a motion. Alderman Kennedy, or Alderman Doherty, seconds. Alderman Kennedy.
Thank you. Similar to the previous comments about the Phase 1 project next to Royal York, this is the Phase 2 project, which is effectively in the land the city purchased next to Jackson School. Good project. It's 11.4 acre feet, and just as what we're planning at Royal York, that is a project that will be online before the end of the year here. So, good project. Want to get moving.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Conquest, absent. Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Brennan.
Aye.
Sabatino.
Aye.
Goiter.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Palumski.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Park, absent. 12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent. That item passes. On to the resolution. Could you read the title on this one?
A resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an amended agreement by and between the City of Elmhurst and the Illinois Department of Transportation regarding the resurfacing of York Street from First Street to North Avenue in the City of Elmhurst, Illinois.
Need a motion and a second. Alderman Kennedy, Alderman Doyer. Alderman Kennedy.
Thank you. Here again, suspension of the rules. This is a requirement for anytime we do a project that includes funds from the state. It's just a formality that says that we as a body have said we're behind it and are liable to pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Conquest, absent. Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Brennan.
Aye.
Sabatino.
Aye.
Goiter.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Palumski.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Park, absent. 12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent. That resolution passes. On to other business. Does anyone have any other business that they'd like to bring forward? Seeing none, I need a motion to adjourn. Alderman York, Alderman Sabatino. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.